Hi, if you don't already know, my name is Matthew, and this video is basically going to be about my experience with grad school so far and some realities that I think a lot of people don't tell you when you enter grad school. And I want to make this video not only for myself, but hopefully for other people to watch so that they not only feel inspired, but that when they watch this, they're also like, hey, someone else went through the same things that I went through or are going through when you're going through the whole grad school process. So hopefully if you find this video and you watch it through, you're like, "Oh my god, this guy sounds somewhat smart. Maybe not the smartest, but somewhat smart." And I will say I'm not like the most, how would I say? I'm not the most PG person. I'm going to keep it real with you 100% of the time, or at least 90% of the time. That other 10%, I'm just like, oh, they probably don't need to know that yet. So I think in this video, it's just going to be about what I'm going through right now, where I've come, like how far I've come into grad school, and like some realities they don't tell you. So let's start with some of the things that I basically thought grad school was going to be. I thought grad school was going to be this fun little thing I could do. I could very much still have my own life and at the same time do grad school. Truthfully, that's not it. Like, the reality is, you are entering a new stage in your life that you are very much just, when you start, you have these expectations that, oh my God, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna be able to still have my life and still do grad school at the same time. I can work out, go out, hang out with friends, see my family, date, blah, 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 blah. Your personal life. And at the same time, also be able to be like, and I can also like read a whole bunch of journal articles. Maybe if you're teaching, teach at the same time. Maybe if you are thinking that, oh, I can write all these papers and read all these books. That was an expectation I had. And the reality or wake up call that I need you folks to realize is that unless you are built like that, you are not going to be able to 100% accomplish that goal every single day. Honestly, I don't know anyone who can accomplish that goal every single day. But if you're like me and trying, go for it, because I'm still trying to have a personal life and at the same time working in academia. So I'm not saying it's not possible, but what I am saying is that the reality is you have to be realistic as to what things you want to still keep in your personal life and what things you want to take out, as well as what things you want to take from grad school and what things you may not want. So maybe you don't want the stress and maybe you don't want like the depression and all that. Then maybe grad school is not for you. I don't know. But if you are able to experience those things and be like, hey, you know what? I am going through these like really tough times, then maybe it's worth it. Because for me, when I first started grad school, I had that mindset that I could accomplish everything. I could do all these things, right? But when reality hit me, that's when I realized I can't do all these things. And it's not to say that I couldn't do it and I still can't do it, but like I said, I'm trying to. And you are going to constantly try to do all these things. And honestly, like I said, the chances of you doing it 100% of the time, slim to none. So that's the first expectation and the first experience I've ever had. You are going to give yourself maybe 75% of you is going to go to grad school, and like the other 25% of you is going to go to your personal life. But if you're like me and you kind of learn the ropes a little bit, you are able to manage grad school and a personal life somewhat, but sometimes you're going to change. So the other expectation or other thing that I've experienced is that grad school is definitely going to change you. I've lost friends. I've lost connections with people I never thought I would lose. And yet, for the most part, at least in my experience, I've had a really great, and I still have a great department that is fully supportive, fully like there with me majority of the time. Because they have their own things going on. I'm not gonna be like, can you help me? Like when it's like the smallest thing I can do by myself, like no, I'm gonna do it by myself. but you are gonna have to change yourself for grad school in ways that you didn't think you would. And for the most part, I will say this, it's probably for the better. Like, I've met some people who don't do grad school and they're very much stuck in the same cycles over and over and over and over again, that I sometimes question, like, huh, if I didn't go to grad school, would I also be like this person of going through the same cycles over and over? Same friends, same relationships, same drama. But because I'm in grad school, you're kind of taken out of that normal or like normative life experience that everyone has of the whole like consistent thing, and you're thrown into this new environment as well as taking your personal life into this new environment, and you change so much. So like I said, I cut off friends, I've cut off connections, but for the better. Like, genuinely, there was a point in my life where I didn't want to go clubbing. I didn't want to do any of the fun stuff. Not because I lost the lack of motivation to go do it. I just didn't see the reward of going to those things as like being greater than doing grad school stuff. And sometimes you do get lost in that train of thought and that like that little belief that sometimes grad school is better, because sometimes it is. Sometimes when you see how much you can accomplish in terms of academia, it's like, "Oh my God, I can do this." But don't expect me to be like this top student. I'm gonna be very real with you. I'm not the top. I'm not the cream of the crop. I know some people who are way better than me at this whole grad school thing. But I want you to know that even if there are other people better than you, the changes you make for yourself truly do benefit you in the long run. So if it's not going out, or if it's cutting off toxic relationships, or learning self confidence, being more present in the moment, or being more vulnerable, those are things that I think grad school really teaches you, because it's a really vulnerable yet motivating and life changing phase in anyone's life. So that's kind of like experience number two. Experience number three, if you're like me who struggles with asking for help, this is where your support system comes in. Hopefully, if you're going into grad school, you're going into grad school or into a grad school that has a very supportive system, very supportive network of faculty members, and maybe grad students who are finishing up their like last semester and they want to be able to help you. Like me, I very much tell my new incoming grad school mates that, you know, you cannot not ask for help, because not asking for help is basically saying that you can do everything on your own. And the reality is, you can't. You really can't. You don't live in a bubble where you're like, oh my God, I'm just like not gonna ask for help. That's not how life works. You do not. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? No, babes. You have to ask for help. So that's the third thing I've learned, is that asking for help, while it may seem a little bit scary, for the most part, it's a super, super good thing to get in the habit of, because then people can help you. But you also have to remember, yes, other people can help you, but you also have to be able to help yourself. So if you can solve this one thing on your own, do you really need the help of somebody else? Or are you just being like super codependent, which could be a whole nother video? But that's experience number three of learning to ask for help. And number four, I think the one other thing that I learned from grad school is that you have to acknowledge all the things that you've done in the past, and also acknowledge that you cannot control the future. So, for instance, I'm a really bad, like, I get caught up in the whole, like, what I've done, my mistakes, my accidents. Those are things I get caught up in, right? But at the same time, I also get caught up in the whole, okay, how do I correct those mistakes so I don't repeat them in the future? And that whole future control thing, so that I can get the outcome that I potentially really want. That's what gets you into the tricky part of being stuck. So for me, this kind of segues into where I'm at right now, is that for the most part, I think I've been stuck for quite a while, because you, as a grad school student, you are so much not trying to make any errors and at the same time trying to make the best outcome for your grades. And so you're trying to correct yourself over and over and over again. But sometimes, if you're like me, you overcorrect yourself to the point that you get lost in the sauce and you don't realize all the things you're doing. So instead of actually doing the things and catching the mistakes in the moment, you potentially just fret over all the mistakes you've done and you fret over all of the mistakes you could make instead of actually doing the thing. So, by not acknowledging all the things that have happened and also acknowledging you can't control things, you inevitably set yourself up for this kind of self fulfilling prophecy that you are going to just very much either be super perfect or super terrible. And that's the thing that grad school teaches you is that you're not going to be super perfect or terrible. No one is perfect and no one is terrible. And so for me, that's the one thing I learned is that you have to be able to fully just acknowledge all the things and just keep trying. There's a book by James Clear. I believe it's called Atomic Habits. I really think everyone should read that book because it basically just tells you there are so many things you can do to hack your mind to get you into creating good habits and maintaining them. And it also makes you realize that 1% a day is better than like 100% one day and then zero the rest for like a whole month, which is, I'm guilty of doing that. And so now that I'm reading this book, I very much do the opposite of I don't do just 10% or 100% on one day. I do like small increments here and there. And so that's, like I said, the one thing you should learn about grad school is that you are going to go through these life changes. You're not going to be perfect. You're not going to be super awful. You just have to acknowledge where you are and how far you've come. So that's kind of my experiences so far. So, segueing into this other section of the video, I wanted to talk about where I'm at right now. And where I'm at is that I'm almost finished with my thesis, or my project, I should say, but I'm stuck, and I'm stuck because I don't know what comes next. And that's kind of like also segues and connects into the reality of grad school is that once you finish, and if you don't know, there's a whole possibility, and those possibilities are endless and beautiful. But if you're like me and you don't ask for help and you don't acknowledge, you just like, you keep pushing without realizing how much growth you've made, you get to this point where you're burnt out and you just don't want to keep going. And for me, that just feels like a wave of depression, of just very much not having the motivation, not being in the right mindset, the right headspace, not having the right, like not being able to put my heart into my work. That's very much what I don't want people to do because that's not what grad school should be. And so for me, the reality is that it is scary. Grad school is a very, very scary, scary place to be in if you let it make you scared. And so for me, I'm finally letting go of this fear of not knowing what comes next and just fully embracing the moment. I don't know if I'm going to wake up tomorrow or if I'm going to, you know, accomplish all the things I try to accomplish. But I'm trying, right? And the reality is, you have to be able to accept the fact that you don't have all that control and you don't know what's coming next. It's okay to 1000% not know what's going to happen, but you have to just keep going. You truly have to just keep going in order for you to accomplish all the things that you want to do. And that's part of any facet of life, I feel, is that if you get caught up in the weeds, you lose sight of the flowers that might be there. But if you cannot fully just live in the moment, grad school may or may not eat you up alive. Because if you get too caught up in the mistakes or you get too caught up in the future, you just you don't live. You live on autopilot, but you don't live. And so, my advice for you folks who are struggling with that is very much live in the moment. Acknowledge where you've been, what you've gone through, what you're trying to accomplish, and just say, hey, I'm here, I'm doing it, and I'm trying to do the damn thing. Because once you just do it and you don't think about things, you will start to like, your mind will start to just go, 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 go. And that's what we want, right? We want to just keep going, even if sometimes we fail. And I think sometimes people think that when you're in grad school, you have to have it perfect all the time. But that's not the truth at all. So for me, I would tell people, like, hey, like, it's okay if you don't have it all together. Not all of us do. And that's the beauty of it, is that you don't have to be this perfect thing. And I honestly think being perfect in grad school kind of gives you a one dimension, like, oh my God, grad school is my life. But like, what else besides grad school is your life? Like, are you willing to devote your entire time to reading and writing and research? I know I am. But are you also able to acknowledge that I am a researcher and at the same time I am a human being? That's what I leave with you folks. That question is, are you more than just one personality or one persona in this phase of your potential life? So let me know in the comments if you are able to and what you think. Let me know your experiences. If you want me to make another video talking more about my experiences in grad school. But for the most part, this is me trying to help you realize, hey, you're not alone in this, and there are other people going through the same thing as you. So hopefully, at least one of you can relate and feels like someone else out there is relating to them. So with that, I just want to say thanks for watching, and hopefully I see you in another video. Bye everybody.